How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. On today's show, we're going to be speaking on the phenomenal career as a player and as an executive for the legendary Jerry West, aka The Logo. We are going to speak on Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Anthony Volpe, all those New York Yankees, the beating they put on the Kansas City Royals last evening. We're going to be speaking on what looks like a very top-heavy AL East in the second half of the year. Going to give you a little bit of trade speculation, some of it true, some of it hypothetical, that we could see going on with two potential movements of current stars playing for each of the New York teams, the one in Queens as well as the one in the Bronx. We're going to talk about Randy Gregory and why his lawsuit can open up the floodgates for other NFL players that were suspended because of choosing to use marijuana for, in some cases, healing purposes, as opposed to the pills. We all know what it did to many a player in the 70s and before that. That is a hot topic that I definitely want to speak on as well. Maybe a little Caitlin Clark as well. And, there's this game going on in Dallas that's somewhat important tonight on the hardwood. We're going to hit on that as well. With me today, my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, North Carolina, via the Bronx, New York.
Let me throw a shot at the Philadelphia people. The Richie Hicks Jr. Show, we've been doing the dope stuff from the start. But let me remind you, don't come up short like Philly and Kevin Hart. There we go. Keep it moving.
Corey Rain, Hollywood, Florida.
What's up, guys? That's funny.
Don't come up short like Kevin Hart. I can't
That's
stand
pretty
it.
short. That's short.
So toxic.
I hate Philly.
Yes, he does. Richard Dorney, if you're watching, although you are a Met fan, you and Idris do share that sentiment. He, too, is not a big fan of Philadelphia.
No. I used to respect them. Forget them now. I hate them.
Okay, I hear you, man. I hear you. Got that voice over there coming over like,
love you, Aaron, my cousin, but I hate your team, man.
it's all good. He loves you too. I know it.
Let's keep it moving.
All right.
I'll come up with another rhyme. Let's go.
Basketball fans everywhere mourn the death of Lakers legend Jerry West. The sad news coming through today. The NBA logo, which has been the logo for forever, pretty much my entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry West, the only NBA player to win a Finals MVP in defeat. He was part of the 1-2 punch along with the legendary Wilt Chamberlain. A lot of those classic Celtic Laker games, which ultimately built the criteria for teams that followed for what was the biggest rivalry, and when the lights are on, still is, in the National Basketball Association. Celtics, Lakers, Magic and Bird recaptured that wonderful rivalry in the 80s. What else did Jerry West do? He was a hell of an executive.
Yes, sir.
Having the wherewithal to take a chance on a kid from Lower Merion High School, Kobe Bean Bryant, the late great one. He made a phenomenal trade dealing Vlade Divac to the Charlotte Hornets for Mr. Bryant. He and Shaquille O'Neal formed arguably the greatest 1-2 punch in NBA history. The year prior to going all in on Kobe, he was already setting everything up to sign Shaquille O'Neal away from the Orlando Magic. Idris, your thoughts on the legend Jerry West?
It's sad because when I heard it this morning, I was like, what? Because there was no signs of him being sick. I mean, I knew he was, 89, 86 or 89 years old. He was up there in age. He was still pretty much talking. I mean, to do what he did in L.A. as a player and then as an exec, I think he worked with Golden State for a little bit, Memphis. I mean, there's a reason why he should be the local. I mean, I heard he even said himself about it's time to change it. I wouldn't be opposed to changing it to like maybe Mike or even Kobe. And I wouldn't be opposed to just keeping it. I mean, the only man to win MVP on a losing team. That goes to show what type of player Jerry West was. The guy was something else, and you have to put him down as probably one of the greatest players turned execs in history. I mean, I know Steve Kerr is doing what he's doing with Golden State as a coach. He also worked in the office, but what Jerry West built in LA, that you got two young guys, one out of high school, one a very young college player, and you pair them up and build a hell of a dynasty.
Yes, indeed.
That's the logo.
Corey, your thoughts on the great Jerry West?
It almost seems like he's one of those like sports figures that's immortal to me.
Yeah.
Like, because I was so taken aback by this news today. I was like, "What, Jerry? What? Like,
right?
Didn't think it could happen."
Yeah.
How many Hall of Fame players became Hall of Fame executives? Probably
Thank you. Many. That's what separates him. Good point, Corey.
Right. Exactly.
Like, even I think Elgin Baylor was an executive, but he didn't have much success.
Michael Jordan didn't do that well.
Yeah, he didn't do well. Steve Kerr wasn't a great player. He was, a good role player, but he wasn't a great player.
Right.
So his impact is monumental. His humility, the way he cared about players.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think he's 1-9 in the finals, but I don't hold that against him because the Celtics were just too good back then.
Yeah.
But just incredible. You can't talk about basketball without mentioning Jerry West. You just can't have that conversation.
Right. Fellow Gemini. Birthday May 28th.
I would like to say something as well with regard to Jerry West. The thing that I know that you have certain organizations that celebrate their greatest players and put them in positions of royalty. The New York Yankees do it. The Dallas Cowboys do it rather well. And the Los Angeles Lakers have done it. I think the thing that makes Jerry West so special and why he will never be forgotten is the fact that he appealed to every generation and had an impact and had the ultimate respect of players from pretty much any generation, whether it goes to Magic when Jerry Buss first bought the team. Talking about the old LA Forum days when it was like the Forum Club and where they were building their own identity as the anti-Celtics.
Yeah.
He never was the old head that said, "Oh, these guys, they're not doing it like we used to,"
And he was never in the limelight like that either. He always played the back and like, hey, I build it, y'all get the glory. If y'all get the glory, I'll get the glory. But it's no glory without y'all first. He's the type of exec that you want running your organization.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Like Corey said, it's like he's one of those guys you say, no way he passed away. He's just one of those guys who will feel live forever.
It'd be like hearing Morgan Freeman die.
It would be the same kind of impact if a Morgan Freeman did indeed pass
It's like
away.
with Betty Davis. When Betty Davis died, it's like, what? Betty Davis?
Some people live forever.
Yeah, he'll live forever. He'll. I mean, it's like Kobe. He's gone in physical, but he'll always live forever in spirit. I mean, you'll never forget him.
And you have a guy like Magic Johnson taking it to him, even like when he contracted the HIV virus, and at the time in this country and in the world for that matter, where it seemed like such an insurmountable mountain to climb that he would no way in the year 2024 would Magic Johnson still be alive.
Right.
And not only is he alive, but he's working on getting a ring in the fourth main American sports.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
Yeah.
Jerry West, it takes a special person, similar to like a Yogi Berra, similar to a Bill Russell, similar to a Bobby Orr or Wayne Gretzky, who no matter what generation They appeal to every generation of the sport as well as the sports following. And it's a sad day in that regard for basketball fans all over the world. Jerry West, we salute you. Mm-hmm. And guys, even from the satirical nature, make it a point to check out Winning Time, the 80s Lakers. Jerry West's character has such a strong role in that.
Yep.
And some Lakers were not pleased. Like Magic's producing his own thing that's not that. But I must say, it is incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Good acting too.
Yes. Yeah, he's gonna be mixed. And it's strange, it's sad because we just lost Russell last year. Mm-hmm. Kobe a couple of years before that, and you're like, wow, these greats are leaving us, man.
I think Kobe's the most tragic though, because
I mean, so shocking.
Not to say that you downplay when guys in his 80s, of course not, but that's a life. Kobe didn't have a full life, so that's just
right. Yeah, but we're losing them, man, and I think with this younger generation, and it's not a shot at LeBron, but his fans need to realize you guys are discrediting all these pioneers that built this game, who basically got paid pennies to play this game. They had to have second jobs, and they're playing in the National Basketball. These guys are leaving us, man.
Think about a player like Elgin Baylor. Yeah, how great he was.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He gets forgotten about among greats, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, the sad thing with today's NBA fans, the young gen, is that a lot of them don't even care enough to do the research to realize some of the pioneers that other players are comparable to. You just name dropped Elgin Baylor. I tell folks a lot of times, and Elgin Baylor is incredibly comparable in terms of the skill set to a LeBron James, actually.
Yep.
Just like I tell people that Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is similar to a Steph Curry.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Baylor miss out on the championships? I forget. I think he did, right?
Yeah.
The New York Knicks actually had 2 championship victories over West and Chamberlain. We weren't here. Yeah. We got another guest rolling in right now. Welcome to the show, my man, Chris Dixon. How you doing, boss?
Chris in the building. What's up,
man?
What's going on?
Good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm just learning this stuff, so please forgive me.
No, you good, bro. You good.
Good to see you, man.
What's going on?
Thanks for showing.
Oh yeah, you good.
You good. You go.
I'm good.
We're actually wrapping up the Jerry West segment, and since you're here, before we move it along, your thoughts on the great Jerry West?
Honestly, man, for a white boy, and I say that with all respect,
right?
He was definitely a problem.
Certainly
I watched
was.
some of his stuff on YouTube, and he definitely was a problem, man. He kind of reminded me of an upgraded version of John Stockton. Yeah. He was just, to me, I thought he was an upgraded version. And John Stockton was good, but Jerry West, I was like, wow. Like, he was definitely something to behold. He was definitely a piece of work, So
he was basically Stockton who could score, basically.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, because the thing with West that's interesting is that in that era, he was at a very top flight level of being a point guard as well as being a 2 guard.
Right.
Where you could actually make an honest debate, which hat did he wear better? Yeah. Similar to like when we get into Steph Curry debates about where he belongs on the point guard hierarchy, because I will always argue until I turn blue in the face that Magic Johnson, no matter what, in my opinion, is the greatest point guard of all time, but everybody's entitled to theirs. Now, if we're talking about the greatest shooter, Curry's going to get my vote.
Yeah, but I just don't view Curry as a point guard, but that's another topic.
It's kind of the same way that Steve Kerr, as a role player in his heyday, was listed as a point guard, but Scottie Pippen ran the offense, and anybody who watched Bulls basketball knew that.
Yeah, I meant
Scottie. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking. To me, LeBron is a better version of what Scottie Pippen was.
Yeah.
At the point forward, he's stronger, he's bigger. But to me, when I look at him, I don't think about Mike. I think about Scottie Pippen. for
LeBron.
James.
That's a good one. I agree with that. And I said an Elgin Baylor's another guy that you could consider when comparing to LeBron James.
Yeah. And you know who else? I'm sorry. You know who else? It just hit me. This might be a little bit before some of you time, but Wes Unseld.
Oh no! You know what? I was getting ready to say. I saw at the very end of Jerry West's career. Yeah, I'm not old. I've seen the last maybe 2 years, 3 years, because I've seen the Knicks championships. Well, I've seen the second championship.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen the second. So I've seen maybe the last couple of years of Jerry West. And and Wes Unseld is a good example.
Yeah.
Wes Unseld is a great example.
See, my memory of Wes Unseld, although I know he was a phenomenal ball player, was actually as a coach of the former Washington Bullets, who are now the Wizards.
Yes.
Yeah, it was back in the day when
they
they
called
called
memories of Wes Unseld, not as the player.
They would call the
real quick though.
Back in the day.
Real quick though, what about Pete Maravich? What do you think about him as far
my
as
favorite point guard of all time? That's
Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete fits the mold similarly to how we're grading the Jerry West conversation about how you can have the honest conversation with yourself. Which hat do they wear better? Because in today's NBA, it's a different game. Like you got guys like a KD, say different position, power forward, also small forward tendencies. Dirk Nowitzki, graceful on the feet. He could take it from long range, but he also had a finesse, but also had a little bit of power. Whereas a Duncan was more of your traditional, fundamental power forward. It's basically, what do you value? Personally, I think Duncan is the greatest power forward ever. But it shows an evolution of a game. But when you could go back to those kind of characters that we're name dropping, it goes to show you that back then they still had these guys.
But you know, Rich, the thing about Maravich, and Magic admit this, he said Magic learned from Maravich.
Absolutely. Every generation learns the next up if they're paying attention.
With Maravich, when he's the New Orleans Jazz, as they would call back then, he played a lot of bad teams. But what he did back then can be seen what Curry is doing today, because he handled the rock, and that guy can shoot. They said if they tracked his shots, they said had he played in today's game, he would have averaged 40 points a game.
No question, especially with the liberties that they have taken away from defenses.
Yeah, I forgot what year they tracked this, but they tracked all his shots one year, and they said he would average 40. Because there was no 3-point line, but he was firing from back then.
He was shooting before it was cool.
And take into consideration, unless if I accidentally missed it just now, what Idris was saying, the advent of the 3-point shot, these dudes were knocking them down back then. Before we move it along to Hurley choosing less money and staying at college over the Lakers gig, any parting things that we want to say about Jerry West before we move it along?
Rip to the logo. But
keep the logo if you have to, but he was a person that was all about progression. And the fact that he wasn't an egomaniac that made it a thing that it needed to be the logo, I think that's all the more reason to keep him on in good taste, at least for a little while longer. Similarly to how we have the whole league honoring a Bill Russell, which was very deserved. I think that Jerry West, in that regard, keep the logo a little longer. And as you guys know, with all the teams wearing sponsorships, you're not going to see the logo on jerseys like what we were wearing as kids running around with the champion joints. Now you see them almost like underneath, like the NBA game issued stuff that they'll wear dry fit underneath the actual jerseys.
Rename the court, man. Rename the court.
I'm okay with that. I truly am. I'm okay with that. But one thing that I am happy about, Jerry West, Kobe Bean Bryant get to rehash, catch up, and talk some of the best basketball conversations from the highest plateau.
Elgin Baylor was waiting on both of them.
Absolutely. Rest in peace to you, Jerry West. And thank you for believing in Kobe Bryant, because you helped expedite not only him being an NBA player, he was going to make the league, but by believing in him and setting him up to be a Laker, you expedited greatness. And for that, you gave back to the game. And, he looked at Kobe like a son figure. So those two are reunited. Rest in peace, Jerry West. You will be missed.
Yes, sir.
Definitely rest in peace.
Moving it along, keeping it Laker-related. Gentlemen, he left a lot of money on the table to go back to college. Do you think this speaks?
So?
I think he left enough on the table.
I got to push back, man, because listen, they said we're going to make you one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA.
Yeah.
He would have been 6th on that list. That's one of the highest. I get it. Mm-hmm. He goes back to Connecticut. He's about to probably be the top paid coach in college basketball.
Absolutely.
So would you telling me you would take 6 years from the Lakers for $70 million, or would you go back to Connecticut, take 4 years and $55 million?
I'm going back home. I'm going back
to Connecticut. Exactly.
Yeah,
if I got to coach NBA players, I'd take $500 in meal money, but that's just me, though.
He's a Jersey kid. He's coaching at UConn right down the block. He got that respect. He can be. I'm not saying he'll be Mike Krzyzewski, but at UConn he can get that Krzyzewski respect.
Yes,
right.
And I figured I was telling Laker fans, I said, he's not going to LA. He knows what's out there. And I'm not hating on LeBron, but like they said, no coach has lasted more than 3 years since Riley has left. And look at what happened to the coaches. Vogel was a good coach in LA. He got them a chip, right. Bubble chip, but he got him a chip, got him a winning season. He's out the door.
Right.
You got LeBron with a Darvin Ham. He's out the door. They had Jason Kidd on the bench, but why did he not stay? He said, "No, I'm going to Dallas." There's something going on in LA. Why can't they bring those big name coaches to LA? That's a big market. It's just like New York. Nobody wanted to play with James Dolan.
I heard Shannon Sharp say the other night that one of the reasons why they couldn't bring in Ty Lue is because basically the Lakers front office want to do more than allow him to do his job. They want to basically almost like Jeannie Buss is almost like the equivalent to Jerry Jones in Dallas.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's the coach, but yet you want to have your fingers into what he's doing. He wants to bring his own players in, but yet you want to, flip the narrative and, well, I'm going to bring in these guys that I want. I'm sorry. And just so we can address this right now, I don't see LeBron going to any other team.
Me neither.
Personally, and I just saw this the other day, I believe Bronny is going to be a Laker.
I completely agree, actually.
I do too.
He was number 90 something on the list.
Yeah.
Then after the combine, they brought him all the way down just to 55. Guess who got the 55th pick?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I was saying, Chris.
Miracle, right?
I said that same thing.
And I love the New York Knicks, but nobody's gonna tell me that things weren't tilted a certain way for Mr. Ewing to bring basketball back to New York City. And I'm sorry, guys. The probability of hitting the lotto 2 years in a row for the Orlando Magic to ultimately trade Chris Webber, draft him, trade him, and pair Penny Hardaway with Shaquille O'Neal when you had the lowest probability of winning the lottery. Listen, it's great TV, but you ain't that lucky.
I'm gonna make
you ain't that lucky.
No. Yeah. I'm gonna make a hot take right now. I would have kept Webber.
Oh, absolutely. Me personally, Chris Webber's my guy. I would have kept him in Orlando.
Yeah.
No offense to Shaq, but they had Shaq for 4 years?
I believe
Shaq was in LA from 92. No, I'm sorry. Shaq was in LA from what? Was it 92 or 90?
92 to 96.
Yeah. He was with the Magic 92, 93, 94, 95, about 5 years. Goes to Lakers. On a team with Sabalos, they had Van Exel. They were in transition. They were getting ready for Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
I think Webber would have been fine playing with Shaq because he's like a face-up power forward. It wouldn't.
Shaquille O'Neal blocked that from happening. He was infuriated with John Gabriel at the time, who was the Orlando Magic GM, because he did not want to play with another big man. Penny, who he actually met on the set of Blue Chips. Actually kind of won him over. But my take on this Hurley thing before we move it to the NBA Finals picks and then start hitting on some baseball, I personally believe that for a lot of coaches, it is a little intimidating to want to deal with LeBron James because of the track record of how many coaches have been fired. And while I agree with Chris's point about how a Jeannie Buss, similarly to a Jerry Jones or even the late George Steinbrenner, they have their handprints all over everything, and that sometimes could be a toxic situation. And I'm saying, because listen, LeBron has made a lot of things better for players, but in some regard, he's made things worse for the league because, at this juncture, the way LeBron has had power in terms of the GM card, why not? Why don't LeBron just coach the team?
He could.
And I'm not even trying to be facetious when I say that.
Be a player coach.
Yeah, Russell did it.
Yep. A lot of guys did it.
Yeah, when I look at the players now, I be thinking to myself, they be like, well, they're going to bring this coach in, they're going to bring that coach. And my thing is, are these players really going to let these guys coach?
Nope.
I really only one I could actually see taking the Lakers job and actually getting through to the players, but he's retired, would be Coach K. I don't see anybody new. They said JJ Redick because he's a player's coach. He understands the players. Man, they're going to tell him go have several seats.
Yeah.
They I had these guys working with me for the company I work for. I trained people how to strip and wax floors for Northrop Grumman. And one guy came to me. We was working at the big building near the airport, and I was showing the guys how to do it. And one guy came to me. He said, Chris, let me go ahead and let me just work with him. You go ahead, sit back. We're gonna make it look pretty, and you take all the credit. And I'm like, is that how people think nowadays? People think that they don't need nobody to show them how to do it. But guess who gets blamed for it in the end if it's not right?
Right.
The person in charge. So that's why you see people like Darvin Ham. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, this dude literally they got him out of there. How long he was there for? What, a year? A little bit more?
And that's the bigger frustration, because what I laugh about when I get into arguments with people that are pro LeBron, anti-Jordan, vice versa, I try to keep it relative to reasonability. Michael Jordan had Doug Collins and he had Phil Jackson. That was it.
That was it.
And the thing
Can I just say, though, you don't have to be pro LeBron, anti-Jordan. That doesn't have to be a thing.
Yeah, but it is a thing.
I'm not that.
But it is a thing.
I just finished going at a guy laughing. I said I was talking about how LeBron fans were basically discrediting Jerry West, and the first person to pop up in my thing is a LeBron fan laughing about Jerry West's death. I said, you guys are ignorant. But anyway,
those aren't real basketball fans.
No, they're not. And think about and I said, I take nothing away from LeBron. Great player. I don't have him in my top 5. I have more like in the bottom 10. That's just me, and I got my reasons for it. But they'll call me a hater, but I don't care. But if you look at the one coach he had that basically had control of the team, that's the one he left. Miami with Spoelstra.
And that's essentially what frustrates me when people get into these arguments, pro LeBron or whatever have you, if they're going directly at Jordan. Mm-hmm. It's that LeBron has they're like, oh, he never had a coach like Phil. And I get that part.
But
I'm like, you've never allowed a coach to grow with you.
But you know what, Richie? You know the counter to that? I tell these LeBron fans, what was Phil Jackson's record when he took over the Chicago Bulls? 0-0.
He was an assistant. He didn't have a record.
Right. He didn't have a record. But see, these knucklehead LeBronians, that's what I call them, LeBronians, they like, oh, he didn't start winning till he had. Doug Collins was a good coach.
Yes, he
Doug
was.
Collins didn't get along with.
He got them close. He got them close. And Jordan loved Collins, and he paired up with him in the latter years when he was just basically having fun at that point in Washington. But this is my and this is my thing with the Lakers, with LeBron, or with the Bulls for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe and Shaq, Scotty and Mike never won until Phil coached them, and LeBron James never won until Spoelstra coached him.
Yep.
Tex Winter was the creator of the
triangle offense. Absolutely.
He wasn't in New York, but Phil was coaching. Look how the Knicks were.
Mm-hmm.
Tex Winter was the man, the genius behind the Chicago teams and the Bulls teams.
Mm-hmm.
When Jackson didn't have Tex, those teams struggled.
Absolutely. And the thing, and that's the frustration, is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that, oh, he never had the coaching that Shaq and Kobe and Jordan did, when he's running dudes out every other year.
There was a lot of good coaches.
This is the era where guys get fired after 50-plus win seasons. It's unheard of.
Darvin Ham was a good coach. He just ran against two Denver teams that was whooping everyone's asses. Because I believe, had they not played Denver, they might have made it to the Western Conference Finals this past year. They played good enough to get there.
You could even say that they would have went to the finals last year if they also didn't run into Denver. The one thing that I will give the Lakers is that I think that they made Denver work hard enough where Denver was a little vulnerable when they ran into that young Minnesota team.
Right on.
That I do believe to be true. But, you know.
Takes its toll.
Yeah. Like if you – the thing is, when you are teaching collegiate level athletes, there's a different layer of their neediness for you in order to get to the next level and to build that kind of acumen as a player. Whereas in the pros, you could be a phenomenal player, but a lot of guys have bad habits that they ain't breaking for nobody. Whether it's not hustling, whether it's being more consumed with getting the right deal and not putting it all out there. There's a lot of variables to this. But this is the era of the prima donna in terms of how we getting rid of this coach or the set jumping. How many teams is Kevin Durant going to get traded to until he admits that he can't win shit without Steph Curry?
Right.
I don't give a damn how many points he scores. You're not a winner, dog. You're a great player.
You can't get out the first round.
I think it's very yeah. I will say this, to play devil's advocate, I think he was the best player on those Warriors teams.
Well, they put him in a position to be
the best. Yeah, because you got Clay, who was firing away. He was still balling out. You had Steph balling out. So what do? You got Clay, you got Steph, you got Durant. You had Draymond playing pretty good. You had Iguodala. So you can't double team anyone. So you basically got a matchup nightmare no matter what you're doing.
Similar to LeBron going to Miami.
I think
Dwayne Wade tasted victory before that. Go ahead, Corey.
Right.
I think if Durant doesn't go there, LeBron has another ring or two.
I don't know.
Listen.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
To me personally, I felt like it was up in the air. But honestly, I think that Dallas series that they lost, that was their ring in Miami. I don't know how they lost it, but they did. And I thought he should have had that ring right there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's just real hard.
When you look at the Heatles losing the first of their 4 consecutive NBA finals, they won 2, they lost 2, but their first appearance with the LeBron version, getting beat by Dallas, that was almost a Dallas payback for what D-Wade did to them. And so, turning back the clock, Shaq, that crew. So
they lost to San Antonio as well too, didn't they?
They sure did.
Yeah,
they most certainly did. San Antonio beat LeBron in 2 different cities.
Well, listen, I am a Bulls fan, so I'm a Bulls fan. No matter how bad we are, I can't let them go. So we haven't had a championship in years. So last time the Bulls won, I was a freshman in college. It's a long time ago.
I was in Germany.
Oh, you was in the military?
Yeah. I remember I was in Germany though.
But take solace in knowing this much.
Mad because the Knicks couldn't.
No team in the Eastern Conference has three-peated once, let alone twice, since your team did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, dude, I'm a Knicks fan. I've been waiting my whole life.
My bad, guys.
No, you're good. You're good. I've been waiting my whole life for the Knicks to do it, and
I was in elementary school.
Yeah, we're gonna move it along since we're talking about rings, NBA Finals. I'm gonna give
next later on. I'm gonna tell you a little story about the Knicks. Later on. Me and you. No, nothing bad. Because Boss always giving his stories on Cole's show. So I got a story for you. So You ever heard of Earl Monroe?
Yeah,
What's that?
Earl.
Yeah.
I used to date his daughter, Danielle.
Oh, word?
I swear, I got her pictures in my phone.
And you didn't come and
Listen, all this time though, I never knew that was her dad until they honored him.
Yeah.
We went with a group of kids from a school here in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they was at the game. The Wizards was playing against, I think, the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
And they honored the championship, the team, the Bullets championship team from Baltimore.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out when they was retiring his jersey. That's when I found out that was her dad. Like, I didn't even know. She never told me nothing.
That's crazy.
Nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you guys still on decent enough terms?
I still talk to her from time to time. She's married now. So,
yeah.
You know, but I still talk to her from time to time. We friends on Facebook. We friends on Instagram. You know, so I still speak from time to time. But that was, let me see. I'm 45 now. So at the time, I was like 28. I was 28, and I'm like back then. I'm like, I didn't even know that was her dad, dude. Like, no lie. I'm not gonna tell you how I met her, but you know, we met. Reason
I asked you the question, if you guys are still on good terms, I'm like, you know, if Earl wants to pull up to the show,
listen, dude. I met him one time. And it was high and by. It was no conversation, no nothing. But the point I'm making is I didn't even know that was her dad.
That's wild.
I didn't even, I just happened to see it at the Wizards game. They was honoring him.
Yeah.
They was retiring his jersey. Because I didn't even, I said, I thought he played with the Knicks. And somebody said, well, he played with Baltimore.
Yeah. Like, Denzel Washington, it truly explained the contrast of Earl the Pearl Monroe as a Bullet versus Earl the Pearl Monroe as a Knick. If you haven't, Ray Allen, Denzel killed that. But Denzel, in my opinion, gave the best explanation for any and all basketball fans about the two different versions of Earl the Pearl Monroe. That's a cool story, though. Yeah. NBA Finals Game 3 picks. I'm going to make it short and sweet. This might be the only game the Dallas Mavericks win of the series, but they're going to win tonight, and they're going to hold the Boston Celtics to under 100 points. But I will say this, Jason Tatum, this is the crazy thing. He has not exactly taken it to that next level in this finals. And quite frankly, he might not have to.
Keep telling people about him.
I think I like is Porzingis out? I heard he was hurt.
He's back. Oh, you mean the new you're talking about the new injury?
Yeah, he just got injured the other day, game 2.
Yeah.
He's talking about he'd rather die than not play. So if he's talking reckless like that, I think we'll see him.
Well, I like Dallas, but I like that. Honestly, I think Boston will win it 4-2, but I like Dallas to win these next 2 at home.
Okay, you got to be squaring it.
I'd like to see a good series like that. So I got Dallas Game 3 as well. Do you think it matters if Tatum doesn't have a good finals? I mean,
that's what I'm getting at, though. But it does kind of alter my view of him as being that dude. When Jaylen Brown has really reminded people who he is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a hater because I said Jaylen Brown was the heart and soul of that team. No, it's just Jason Tatum. Mr. I don't show up. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, Jay Kidd might have done something against himself when he said that Jaylen Brown was their best player. He's like, well, stay tuned.
Right. Definitely.
So does anybody on this panel think the Mavericks could actually win this series at this point?
I do. I think they could, but if they have to play pure perfection basketball.
Yeah.
They have to. Their mistakes is what killed them in game 2.
I think
they came out hot.
Yeah.
It's going to be competitive, but I don't think they'll win.
Yeah, at this point, even though I picked the Mavericks, I don't waver from my pick. I picked the Mavericks in 7. I just don't see it. But then again, I don't know for sure because a couple of years ago, if somebody would have told me the Phoenix Suns were going to blow a 2-0 lead to the Milwaukee Bucks, I would have laughed at all of you. Oh, wait a minute, Kevin Durant's on that team. That's why that didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah. So I said what I said. We're going to go to Hicksy's hypotheticals here on the baseball realm. Chris Dixon on the phone earlier today, you mentioned that Baltimore radio has mentioned a potential trade suitor for the New York Mets. Pete Alonso, you're an Oriole fan. Let it rip.
So let me clear that up. I love the Braves. I love the Braves.
Okay.
But I do cheer for the home team, the Orioles. And right now they're beating the Braves right now 2-0. They beat them good last night too. But yeah, they said when they was talking on 105.7 The Fan, they were saying how that the Mets may consider making a move with Alonso, but before the break, or before the trade deadline, and they were saying the two front runners seem to be Baltimore and Atlanta. More so Atlanta because of the injury to Acuna. He's out for the year. But I'm trying, in Baltimore more so because they have a platoon of third basemen going on.
Yeah.
My thing is, instead of platooning, go get, like we talked about, get your everyday third base, everyday,
Yeah, because you made the point about Ryan Mountcastle being a very good player that you can stick in different places.
He's utility. He can go.
Yeah, you get a Pete Alonso. That is your lockup. Every day that is the guy on first. And Scott Boras is very unlikely to let one of his clients sign a deal post trade. He wants to drag it out and talk to every team known to man, Japanese teams included. So, like anything else, you're gonna have to. That's the only bit you gotta worry about.
Mike Elias said that anybody they trade for, they're not just doing a trade just for the rest of the season. They're trying to lock whoever they trade for up for long term. Now, I know the Orioles just sold to a new owner. Cal Ripken is one of the owners. Mm-hmm. And the Angelos, who used to own the Orioles, they was cheap. They didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
But this owner that's coming in now, he said he's trying to bring a World Series to Baltimore now. He's not waiting until next year. He said they've been rebuilding since 1983. So that's the last time they won one.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I was 5 years old when they won it. Went to the parade, didn't understand why I was down at the harbor. And I was 5. I didn't know no better. But that's the last time they won one. Yep. And so he said that he's looking to win now. And I also heard, just real quickly, I'm looking at I'm on the website now, and it says the Orioles are showing interest in a Cy Young candidate from the Milwaukee Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who the name is. They want me to pay to see who it is. I'm not doing that, but I forget who he is. But he's a pitcher for the Brewers. So
yeah. The thing with the Orioles right now that I see, short and sweet, they might see that they want to solidify that they're just maybe a player away. That's why Pete Alonso. Not to mention the Mets have nothing to gain by not trading him because they would have to convince themselves that he wants to come back and to continue to play on a mediocre organization during his prime seasons.
Right.
Yeah, who wants to play for the Mets? Well, you know how I feel about the Mets anyway. So.
Richard Dorney III, maybe. I don't know. The king of Queens,
it's so funny.
Pablo, what's his face? I forgot. What's his name?
The Mets don't even have a mascot. They're looking for a new mascot.
They need
to. I thought the Apple was their mascot.
No,
that represents New York.
Yeah, I figured that. But
the actual, Mr. Met's the actual
big ass baseball head ass dude.
Baseball head, yeah.
It looks like a drive-in movie theater.
The goofiest mascot in sports, man. Other than the damn Washington Redskins.
But this is the thing, though. This is the thing that makes it interesting, Chris, because I know that you said anybody we trade to coming from your owner's mouth, GM/owners, the front office is like, we're not trading for anybody that doesn't want to be here long term. But the problem is when you deal with a Scott Boras client, you have to just take the long road, no matter what you want as an organization, because Scott Boras don't give two shits about what anybody wants to do. And it actually hurt his clients this past year in Jordan Montgomery as well as Blake Snell.
Sometimes,
go ahead.
Sometimes Scott Boras bites his nose to spite his face. But
absolutely, Corey.
On his nose.
You nailed it.
Well, you see what they did with Manny Machado.
Oh,
yeah, they let him walk.
They let him walk.
They traded him to the Dodgers, and then from there he signed that big deal with San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody thought would happen.
Nah,
yeah,
I did. I definitely didn't.
Now let me ask a in division question. Because I see I'm outnumbered 3-1 here. Let me ask an individual question. As far as the Yankees go, what is the likelihood they bring back Soto?
Oh, I'm gonna. If they win the World Series, this sounds really wacky, but if they win the World Series, I think the probability goes up that he leaves. Whereas if they get super close and just barely miss being the champions, I think it's more. I think it puts on more incentive to bring him back.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Same way.
Corey, what do you think about that? Go ahead.
I think I never have bought the Mets angle because unless he's just pure greed, which I don't think Juan Soto is, but I don't know what's in his heart. The Mets don't have a good roster.
No.
Why would he want to go there? He's going to get paid well wherever he goes. But why would you choose the Mets just because Steve Cohen is going to sell him some sort of dream? I just don't understand it.
And you know what, Corey? You go to the Mets, you go to a division with the Atlanta Braves,
yes,
the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes.
I mean, what are your chances of actually winning? Those guys, the Braves are stacked. The freaking Phillies are stacked.
The Mets are Lindor and who?
I feel like their window has closed. Their window closed when they overpaid to get a quick fix with Scherzer, Verlander. I think they did the right thing by letting DeGrom walk, even though he's the best pitcher they've had since Tom Seaver. The problem, the problem for the New York Mets is that I always think it's the wrong place, wrong time. The only thing that Steve Cohen has proved to me is that he's willing to spend money irresponsibly, similar to the guy that he's chasing, who is no longer alive, the boss George Steinbrenner, because I love Steinbrenner. I love Steinbrenner, but he wasn't a baseball man.
No,
Cohen has not delivered on big promises. It's been a lot of talk.
Corey, that's why they play in Flushing. That's why they play in Flushing. That's why. That's why they play in Flushing. They play where the World's Fair used to be. They still got the freaking globe sitting there. They play in Flushing.
Yeah, World's Fair. World's Fair.
I was told that Aaron Judge would choose the Mets. Mets fans were telling me that. So
I was told that Arson Judge chose the Giants.
Right.
Wow.
Shouts out John Heyman, Lawrence High School.
But as far as Juan Soto, one more thing on Soto. If he were to leave the Yankees, and we talked about this off air, Richie, the Dodgers are always in play.
They're always in play. To sign everybody.
The Mets, I just don't see it.
Nah.
They don't have nothing.
I've been wrong before, but
I'm going to say this real quickly. Pete Alonso is a possibility, even if the Orioles trade for him. He might help them win a World Series. You never know. Who knows how it plays out? Orioles and Yankees are very, very close. It could go either way. But what I will say is this. Whether Pete Alonso gets traded to the Orioles, whether he rots in Queens for the rest of the year, whether he gets traded wherever he gets traded to, Scott Boras will do everything in his power to make sure that he tests the free agent market. And in the event the New York Yankees win the World Series, and it takes a little pressure off of the maniacal nature that you must bring back Soto, do not be surprised if suddenly the New York Yankees, even though they have prospect Ben Rice down at AAA, do not be surprised if they actually have the audacity to go out and get Pete Alonso. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Soto leaves, he might be the consolation prize.
Right.
It's not impossible because they have Jason Dominguez in the wings. So.
Absolutely. And Verdugo's not the forever answer. He's an overachiever answer this year. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was wondering. I'm hearing Soto and Judge. What's the other bomber that the Yankees have?
Stanton.
Yeah. Where's he at? I haven't really heard much from him.
Well,
he's doing better.
But the contract is the furthest thing from ideal.
Yeah.
That's the best way to explain it. He has been. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
contract, he'd have been gone. The
Marlins are paying some of that.
Yeah. And yes, they are.
And he's with the Yankees for 3 more years. Everybody says trade him, unload him. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
But I'm fine with the way he's performing this year.
I'm going to keep him. I'm going to keep him in the show. In the show, I'm going to keep him.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Richie.
No, I'm just being an a-hole. I'm just saying I'm going to keep him in the video game.
I think with him, we got Soto, we got Judge, and I think he's in the right place in the batting order. Like I said, he lost weight. He's playing better.
He did report, to answer your question, Chris, and I don't mean to cut you, Idris. It's kind of just all chiming. The thing with Stanton is that you're talking about a former MVP of a league where it was a non-pressure situation because he was a Marlin. Yeah. I want to make one thing clear that people forget. He has carried this team before. Mm-hmm. He does have the ability to get very hot. Mm-hmm. But to Idris's point, the fact that you have guys like Soto, Volpe, and Judge in that lineup, it takes a substantial amount of pressure off of Stanton. But what I like about Stanton, two things. He has never crumbled or given the middle finger to a very difficult New York fan base and media. Yep. He knows how to take the smoke. He knows how to be accountable and take blame. And truth be told, him showing up to camp, leaner, getting rid of some of the muscle mass to try to avoid some of the injuries. Because from a muscle-based standpoint, I'll throw a name out there that might remind you. Tim Rock Reigns.
Yeah.
The guy was sculpted like a god. But the thing was that he had so many damn muscles, he could get hurt all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So Stanton, rather, very similar build.
Mm-hmm. Except Stanton's like 6'6".
Oh yeah. Well, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Stanton's how tall?
Like he's about 6'6". He's a tall dude.
Wow.
Yeah. Stanton's a big dude. Stanton's definitely a big dude. And before we hit on Randy Gregory and the marijuana lawsuit situation, I do want to hit on this last evening. Yankees put up a 10 spot. They will be starting actually in about 20 minutes or so against the Royals. Big G Judge go tape measure mode. What I like about this Yankee team, it might lead to a World Series, or we might fall short to Chris's team, or we both might get pissed off and lose to somebody that's not as good as either one of our teams.
We just don't know.
Hopefully it's not the Rangers.
Hopefully not the Red Sox.
The Rangers are cooked.
I know the Red Sox, they're down. They're not.
I would say the Rangers were cooked if the Mariners ran away with that division, but they didn't seize that just yet. Nope. This is my thing with what's going on with the Yanks right now. The camaraderie that I'm seeing, eerily similar to the Baby Bomber season of 2017, which was Joe Girardi's final year.
Right.
I think Juan Soto and Alex Verdugo, two particular players, one was brought in as a quick solution for a Dominguez injury. The other guy was brought in as a rental, and you pray that he wants to be there for a decade. These two guys have been so instrumental. Mm-hmm. And, you could say the Stanton attitude of just recommitting himself. You could say Carlos Rodon coming back and saying, hey, guys, I want a mulligan. I didn't do well. Let's start over.
Mm-hmm. Rizzo's been playing pretty decent, too. I mean, compared to last year, because he couldn't stay on the field because his back was all screwed up.
Yeah, but the way he's hitting, I don't want him to be on the field. No. I love Anthony Rizzo. I absolutely adore Anthony Rizzo, but it's time to go night-night.
I think this is it for him anyway.
I feel like the emergence of Volpe, changing his swing and being opposite field, he's been great. He's one of the best defenders in the game. And they just have chemistry, and their pitching has been amazing. Like,
that's what surprised me.
Because as you guys know, in our preseason prediction show, I picked the Baltimore Orioles to win the American League East, and I had the Yankees as, I wouldn't say a distant wild card, but Baltimore clearly would win the division. If somebody would have told me that we would be in this position, given the fact that Garrett Cole hasn't had a pitch, has not thrown one pitch this year,
right?
I would say I'd just be thrilled to be within 6 of the Orioles. And that's me being humble. That's me being humble and saying, yo, the Orioles got a great friggin' team, because I said it to Chris off air, and I'll repeat it right now.
Great young team.
My humble opinion, the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles are not only the two best teams in Major League Baseball. I said it backwards. They're two best teams in baseball.
Yeah.
I know the Phillies are good. I know the Dodgers are good. No, the two best teams in baseball play in the American League East.
I agree.
And that's the best division in baseball.
Yeah, I think it's been that way for a couple of years, too.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers have some problems with their offense.
It is a little underwhelming, but I try, let's say if I was a Dodger fan, I would try to flip the narrative and be like, well, we did play the Yankees. And as you know, no matter what generation of baseball it is, great pitching will beat great hitting 70% of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
No matter who it is, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, name your greatest jock that played this wonderful game. And, it's just the law of the averages. But I will say this. I expect the New York Yankees, as well as the Baltimore Orioles, not necessarily to make the big splash, maybe the Orioles more so. But I do think that both these teams are going to be fine-tuning and looking to see who's falling out of the race, to see it, because it is an arms race. You expand to 40, but you also want to make sure that you get whatever you think you need to separate you. But at the end of the day, regardless of whatever future moves are going to be made, I think the collision is unavoidable.
It is.
Orioles won round 1, 3 out of 4.
Yep.
And I look forward to the challenge, man. That's what makes this great. That's what makes this season so cool, is that so much still needs to be decided. And the one thing that I think we all agree on is that these are two phenomenal baseball teams.
Two phenomenal baseball teams. The first series, the Orioles were better than us, but we weren't on our game yet, though. We were not clicking. I take nothing away, but that was a close series. The offense where the Yankees was not getting the job done at that time. The offense now is a different offense. But so that's why I'm interested to see when they come to Yankee Stadium how they match up better.
And it's coming up soon, and I am very much looking forward to that. Yeah, that's gonna be good, Chris. That's gonna be good. And I have a feeling you and I are gonna be. I have a feeling you and I are gonna be speaking frequently on that. Before we get out of here, because I know Bosco has to get to casual convo. I want to ask you guys this.
Yeah. Randy
Gregory suing the NFL for the THC suspensions, marijuana-related suspensions. As a panel, do you believe that this will open the floodgates because of how the country looks differently at the usage of marijuana in terms of recreational usage, whereas guys were literally losing their careers? And I do want to reiterate, a lot of these dudes were smoking because some of it was a different form of pain relief as opposed to the pills, and some guys are just heads. But my bottom line with this is the fact that they still classify it as a drug, so to speak, when you look at the van damage that so many pills and the pill addictions have done to players past, present, and unfortunately in the future. You look at what happened with Brett Favre.
Yeah.
You think it's a coincidence that so many ball players that played in the 70s dropping way before their years?
Lyle Alzado, Joe Rizzo.
Yeah, rest in peace, Lyle. I had the pleasure of knowing him on a personal level. I played Pee Wee football with Lyle's son, and he's one of the most misunderstood athletes of the last of the last century, because Lyle was a wonderful human being off the field. So I don't give two shits about what any of these people think they're gonna say about him. I will always go to bat for Lyle. But what I will say is it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, because you look at a guy like a Josh Gordon.
I was going to say that.
Ricky Williams literally walked away from the National Football League because he'd rather smoke in peace than continue to take the beatings and be judged.
I think Josh Gordon got the worst of it.
Yeah, they tried to paint him as a criminal, like he was.
Yeah, it's not the same thing when they talk about, and they keep putting that word drug on it. This all was born during the 80s, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
Hey, Richard,
you know what makes me laugh the most about sports?
What's that?
Like pundits and everything. I don't like when analysts try to question players' character, because that's not for them to really.
And a lot of the dudes that have the audacity to do that didn't play the game. What's up, though?
Yeah.
I think if Gregory wins, the NFL better watch out for Josh Gordon.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a long list of guys.
Because they're gonna have to dump if Randy Gregory wins.
Not just
the
him.
NFL better already have a big check already written out for Josh Gordon.
That's what I'm saying.
He put the money because he got the biggest case.
I mean, bro, don't be surprised if Ricky Williams comes back.
That's what I was going to say.
Ricky Williams.
Yes.
See, a lot of these guys got popped in the off season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ricky could play too. Wow.
Ricky was a beast.
Yes. I remember when he came to Baltimore for that 1 year, and we got beat by New England because Lee Evans dropped the damn pass in the end zone. Later on, the league said it was a catch.
It was a catch. Yep.
But yeah, because he had 2 feet down, and when he turned around, the guy spiked out his head. But that's no here nor there. So he rushed for over 1,000 yards that season for us, and that was back in 2011.
Yeah,
so he was still getting it.
Yeah, they better watch it.
This is what I don't understand. I was told, not told personally, but I saw on a podcast where I think it was Kenyon Martin or somebody. He said most NBA players were smoking. So how did they get away with that?
They didn't have the same anal retentive nature that the thing that the NBA was worried about was this shit in the 70s, and Bird Magic saved the league. MJ made it global. We're coming up on the final minute. Idris, I know you got to get out of here for casual. Anything you want to say on the way out?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on my girl, Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
The way I look at it is, everyone's complaining about her. She's the only one not complaining.
God, ain't it funny how that works?
Great
She's the
point.
only one not complaining. She's like, oh well.
That makes her look good, though.
Yeah, and see, I like her, and I'm not a what about ism. Like, what about Angel Reese? Rich, I'm an LSU fan. I've been an LSU fan since '79.
For sure.
Support Angel Reese, but I tell these knuckleheads, Angel Reese is doing more whining than Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
She's doing more whining. Why y'all not giving me the props? Play ball.
Yeah.
Right.
You play ball.
Reasonable.
It's different between going to a team that was good last year than getting drafted to a team that's been trashed.
I know. It sounds crazy to think that, that would be the thing. Because the thing is, it's an unenviable position. And we got into a deep conversation on this recently. We're going to definitely hit on this moving forward. But at the end of the day, I always say this. Whether you're a fan of her or not, as a player or as a fan, her presence helps bring up the star of others, because at the end of the day, we're talking about your league now. When's the last time the WNBA could say that?
When the first year.
Yeah, literally, literally the first year.
Let me share something real quick before you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other day, the Washington Mystics normally only get like 4,000 people a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they played the FIBA on Monday night, it was so much demand for tickets, they had to move it to the Wizards Arena.
What does that say?
They sold 18,000 tickets for that game.
Thank you, sir. And what does that say?
That's what I don't.
That's just great for the game.
Yes, freaking Indiana has sold more seats in the first few games than they sell the whole season.
Yeah.
But
this is what I mean. If you are a peer, whether you're a superstar, a role player playing in the league, you have to embrace this woman's presence, because this woman's presence is uplifting your league to bigger and better plateaus. Mr. Rain, anything you want to say on the way out?
Go Yankees.
Exactly.
Soto Judge, the best production since the Eminem Boys. Idris, I'll see you in a few minutes.
I'm out. Coco's blowing up my phone. I see you.
I'm gonna see you over there too, Aegis, but I'm gonna finish with Richie. But I'll see you over there.
Later, bro.
Don't hurt him too much, man. Later.
So I'm looking at the schedule right now. Like I was telling you earlier, the Orioles got a tough stretch coming up. They're beating the Braves right now, but they got the Braves tomorrow at 1:00. Then Friday, Philly comes down 95 to us.
Ooh, that's going to be a good series.
We got the Phillies the 14th, 15th, and 16th. Then we got off on Monday. Then we go up 95 to New York for the Yankees.
Garrett Cole.
Then we fly from New York. Yeah, these are back to back. Then we fly from New York and we go to Houston.
Okay. And who is playing? Who is still lying in the weeds? They still are alive.
Yeah, they still there. They creeping. But then we leave Houston, come back home, and the Cleveland Guardians are waiting.
Good team.
Then right after that, we got 4 games against the Rangers at home.
That's barring mass injuries to your team, I don't see a scenario where this literally doesn't go down to the last 10 days of the season for divisional rights. And I mean, things happen, things happen. But when I look at the roster, top to bottom, talking about lowest link guys to the strongest link guys, I don't see enough weaknesses in the New York Yankees or the Baltimore Orioles that would prevent them from breaking slumps. You always have the ability to have a bad week, a bad weekend, whatever. But I'm talking about those long slumps. Neither one of these teams have that to worry about.
This is the thing that keeps them from slumping. They both can hit, and they both have good starting pitching. So,
absolutely, and they're both managed very well too. Because as much of a critic as I've been of Aaron Boone over the years, I'll be the first to give him his due. This particular year, I think he's done an excellent job with the bullpen budget, and he's not afraid to put guys in uncomfortable, unfamiliar roles to get them used to it, because you never know when you might need them when it counts the most. Anything you boys want to say on the way out? Anything else?
I'm going to give you an update real quick.
Go ahead.
Update. So I don't know if y'all saw the thing about Lamar Jackson leaving $750,000 on the table. because he didn't go to OT. No, I'm sorry, he didn't go to voluntary?
Yes.
OTAs.
Yes.
Now, everybody made a big fuss about it. Come to find out, he promised his daughter that he was going to work for 2 days and take her for her 3rd birthday on a trip with her family. And then they was going to come back and he was going to finish out the rest of OTAs, which he did. But because he missed those 3 days, he didn't reach the 80% participation that he needed for that. The man just signed a $260 million contract.
Right.
Okay, $195 million of that fully guaranteed.
I think he could do a lot more daddy-daughter days, if you ask me, and I don't think he got a damn thing to worry about.
Exactly. No. And so the dude from what's the show? What's his name? Nick Wright.
Oh, bro, don't get me started with Nick Wright.
Gets on my nerves. He said the guy was saying, asking him his top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. He had Joe Burrow. Of course, he had our boy Pat Mahomes. Number 1. He had Joe Burrow. He had Justin Houston. I'm sorry.
Justin Herbert. He
had Joe Burrow, and he had the kid from Houston. He had Lamar at like 14 or 15.
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. But too many guys like to classify Lamar Jackson as a running back, and he's the reigning MVP. I'm so tired of having to vouch for him.
He's also won another MVP besides that.
Yeah, two-time MVP. At times, the only thing.
In 3 years.
Yeah, they need to stop disrespecting him. That's all I gotta say. For Chris and for Corey, we appreciate you guys having already making a point, like and subscribe to the channel. Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. We didn't forget about that boxing show. We're going to keep you in the know as to when we are going to get that going. Chris, thank you for popping in. Corey, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Have a great night, everybody. I'm about to get into the back room and go watch these Yanks.